Mama, he threw a frog at me. Is this a past tense?
Yes, beta, because threw is the second form or the past form of the verb throw. So this is the past tense. I told you.
Okay, but then a frog was thrown at me. Is this also a past tense?
Yeah, that is also past tense, but that is in passive voice.
What is voice?
Voice means form of verb and passive form is always V3 or past participle form. Okay, like in this case, thrown. Similarly, gone, drawn, played, talked. All these are V3 form and can be used in passive.
Okay, tell us more about it.
Sure. Hello everyone. Welcome back to the channel Learn English with Nandita. Today, as we have already seen, we are going to talk about passive form of the verbs, right? So first, voice. What is voice when we talk about voice in terms of grammar? This is voice in terms of meaning, right? Somebody's voice or the sound that someone produces, right? But voice in grammar or English structure means form of verb. Okay, what it means? Form of verb. Earlier I have told you while teaching you tenses that there are basically three forms and also the VING form, right? So V1 is the base form or the root form of the verb, the kind of verb that we already know, like go, like come, like read. Okay. Now V2 is the second form or the past form of it. Okay. So go will become went, come will become came, and so on and so on and so forth. V3 is the passive form. Okay. In every passive voice, we use V3 form, right? So, go, went, gone. Gone is the V3 form. Throw, threw, thrown. Thrown is the V3 form. Play, played, played. Played is the V3 form. Understood? So, voice is form of verbs and for active form, we can use either one of them. For present, we use V1. For past, we use V2. For perfect tenses, we use V3. But for passive form, we only use V3 form of the verb. That is what we have to understand. All right? Whenever we do voice change. Okay? Now, let's go back to the topic tense once again. And I'll tell you why. Tense, as I have told you, is listing or ordering of time. है ना? Tense का मतलब होता है टाइम को लिस्ट करना. प्रेजेंट में, पास्ट में और फ्यूचर में. कुछ लैंग्वेजेस में इसको हम नाउन वगैरह से भी लिस्टिंग करते हैं, बट ज्यादातर लैंग्वेजेस में लाइक इन इंग्लिश or Hindi or most of the Indian languages, we list time through verbs. Okay? Tense, and don't get tense, okay, is basically listing of time. Right? This listing of time can be done in two different ways. It can be done through active voice. Okay? And what did I say? Voice is the form of the verb. Voice जो है किसी भी verb का कौन सा form है वो बताता है. ठीक है? Voice in terms of grammar. Grammar के हिसाब से बोल रहे हैं. And tense को हम फिर passive form में भी या passive voice में भी बता सकते हैं. Okay? So the most important thing that you must understand is that एक्टिव या पैसिव वॉइस की जो हम लोग लिस्ट तैयार करते हैं कि सब्जेक्ट को ऑब्जेक्ट से अलग करना है, इंटरचेंज करना है, या यहाँ पर V1 है तो वहां पर इजमार V3 लगाना है, ये सब जो सीखते हैं वो सबसे पहला जरूरी बात जो ध्यान में रखना है कि वो एक ही टेंस है। मतलब एक्टिव वॉइस का प्रेजेंट टेंस जो है वो उसको पैसिव वॉइस के प्रेजेंट टेंस में भी हम लिख सकते हैं। एक्टिव वॉइस को जो हम पास्ट टेंस में लिख रहे हैं उसी वॉइस को हम लोग पास्ट फॉर्म के पैसिव वॉइस में भी लिख सकते हैं। इज दैट क्लियर? सो when we change from active to passive, we only change the order of the subject and object. We only change the form of the verb. We do not change the tense. Between active to passive, we do not change the tense. It is the same tense which is listed under active form, and that same tense can be listed similarly under the passive form. Understood? Okay. Now let's come to some of the structural changes between active voice and passive voice. For the first lesson, I will be only dealing with simple tenses. Okay? हम सिर्फ और सिर्फ अभी simple tenses ही कर रहे हैं, active form में and passive form में. Active form क्यों बोल रहे हैं? Because voice means verb form. Okay? And that can also be done in passive form, right? So simple tenses are how many? Similar to time frame, present simple, past simple and future simple. Okay? Present indefinite, past indefinite and future indefinite. ठीक है? तो हम लोग simple tenses पहले करेंगे. Present में जैसे मैंने पहले भी बताया है कि हम लोग किससे स्टार्ट करते हैं? हम लोग सब्जेक्ट से स्टार्ट करेंगे, कोई भी सब्जेक्ट से स्टार्ट करेंगे और उसके साथ V1 लगाएंगे इफ इट इज प्लूरल, VS मतलब वर्ब के साथ S या ES लगाएंगे इफ इट इज सिंगुलर. ओके, द सब्जेक्ट इज सिंगुलर देन VS, वर्ब विद ES और S. Subject is plural, then V1 or the root form. Okay, like write, read, go. Okay, and then comes the object. What are subject and object? Subject is also a kind of noun or pronoun. Okay, object is also a kind of noun or pronoun or a noun phrase, something like that. Okay, now one more important aspect of it is when we change from active form to passive form, you have to interchange the position of subject and object, okay, in the passive form, right? So most importantly, you have to remember that in active form, the subject is the doer. ठीक है? Doer मतलब जो काम को कर रहा है, जो उस काम को कर रहा है, वो सामने बैठाते हैं और उसको इंपॉर्टेंस देते हैं, उसको सब्जेक्ट बनाते हैं. ठीक है? जैसे कि he threw a ball, है ना? तो यहाँ पर he उसी ने फेंका है, इसलिए he is the subject and this is an active form, right? अब पैसिव में a ball was thrown ऐसा हो जाएगा. ठीक है? तो वहां पर क्या होता है? वहां पर सब्जेक्ट इज द रिसीवर. ओके, सब्जेक्ट इज द रिसीवर मतलब जो कि रिसीव कर रहा है एक्शन को, राइट? सो हियर द ऑब्जेक्ट विल कम फर्स्ट एज अ सब्जेक्ट, ओके, एज S2, and then V1 and VS cannot be used in active voice. I've already told you that it has to be V3. Now we have used V3, but then how can we show that it is a simple present tense? ठीक है? So for simple present tense, what are the V forms? Is or am or are. So we will use object of the active form as subject here, S2, then B form ka simple present form, then V3 which is the passivized form, then by, and then subject which is actually acting here as the object. ठीक है? Now let me give you an example. He writes poems. ठीक है? Now here you see he is actually doing the action, इसीलिए doer of the verb है और इसीलिए वो active form है, और क्योंकि ही सिंगुलर है तो हमने VS लिया है सिंपल प्रेजेंट टेंस में. अब पैसिव फॉर्म में भी सिंपल प्रेजेंट होता है, याद रखो टेंस चेंज नहीं हो रहा है, लेकिन हम लोग को रिसीवर ऑफ द एक्शन को सामने लाना है, S2 बनाना है, ठीक है। तो हम लोग पहले स्टार्ट करेंगे पोएम्स, ठीक है, and we know that we have to passive form of the verb is always the third form, so we have to use written, है ना, the third form of write। अब written लिख दिया है, लेकिन हम लोग को सिंपल प्रेजेंट भी बताना है, तो यहाँ पर हम क्या करेंगे, हम लोग बी फॉर्म का सिंपल प्रेजेंट फॉर्म लगाएंगे। पोएम्स है तो हम लोग लगाएंगे आर, ओके, बिकॉज पोएम्स is plural, so we will use are, okay, and then V3 form of write, then by, and then him. Why not he? Because he is personal pronoun in subjective case and him is personal pronoun in object place or objective case, okay. So that's how we can do for simple present. Now let's come to simple past, right? Simple past. Again, similarly, we will use subject plus V2, that is the past form. So throw will become threw, write will become wrote here, and object. That will change into passive form, but with the same tense. We are still in simple past tense. So we will use object of the first sentence as the subject to plus ismr for simple present. So for past we will use was or were, and then V3, the third form, that is important, V3, then by, and who is the doer? Doer will come at the back. So subject of the first sentence will become the object here, O2 here. Understood? So the same sentence can be written as he wrote a letter, okay, that will change to a letter was written by him, okay. So देखो यहाँ पर हमने was लगाया क्योंकि past tense है, simple past tense है, B form का simple past form लिया, and V3 लगाया because that is what we have to do. We have to pacify the verb form, right? So simple present, simple past, understood? Now let's come to simple future. Okay, simple future tense. Remember, simple future doesn't have any structure as such, right? So in active, we will have to introduce subject plus will, shall, may, okay, or any such modal form, modal verb. Modal verbs are modal auxiliaries which can be used with verb forms, other verb forms, other action words. Then V1, because modal verbs always follow, always comes before V1 form of the verb or the base form of the verb. And then object. So in passive, we are not changing anything. We only are introducing V3 and interchanging the subject and object, because active means doer is the subject and passive means receiver of the action is the subject, ठीक है। एक्टिव में जो काम कर रहा है वो सामने आता है, उसे सब्जेक्ट माना जाता है। पैसिव में जिस काम को किसी पे किया है उसको सामने लाया जाता है, ठीक है। नाउ यहाँ पर फिर वैसे ही हो जाएगा, है ना, द ऑब्जेक्ट of the first will come as the subject to, right? Then similarly will, shall, whichever modal verb has been used will be used here again, and then we have to introduce a be, because here we do not have ismr, we cannot use ismr because already auxiliary is there, so we have to introduce a be, and then finally the V3, the passivized form of the verb, and after that by, and subject of the first sentence will become the object or O2 in the second sentence, right? So here we can say they will play the match, है ना. They is the subject. उन्हीं लोग खेल रहे हैं. Doer is at the front, so it is active form. Now let's bring the receiver at the front. Okay, let's bring the receiver of the action at the front, so that will become passive. So we'll start with the match. We will use will shall. Here will has been used, so we will use will. We will introduce be. We will introduce V3 form or pacified form of play. So played by them. Okay, so they will change to the object form them. Understood? So today we are only dealing with the simple tenses. In the next class, I'll be telling you furthermore with continuous tenses and perfect tenses. Right? Remember, active to passive does not require tense change. In fact, both are actually in the same tense. Only thing is, in active, you have the doer as action, जो काम कर रहा है, doer of the verb as the subject, जो काम कर रहा है वो सामने रहता है, and in passive, receiver as the subject, मतलब काम को जो receive कर रहा है, जिस पे हो रहा है काम, उसे हम लोग सामने रखते हैं, उसे हम prominence देते हैं. और passive में हम लोग हमेशा V3 या past participle form लगाते हैं. Understood? Hope you have learned a lot today. See you next time. Keep practicing, keep exploring, keep enjoying English. Thank you.